Okay, my name is Evelyn Zumwalt. I'm 16 years old and a junior, and this is my transition speech. So, to begin, this is little me. I was not actually born in Maine. I was born in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is basically a very hot, dry, flat area where there are very small trees. And anywho, so basically, I don't remember much of Oklahoma because I moved here when I was about 3 or 4. Though I do remember my grandparents and a random moment where I was sitting on the sidewalk and talking to my Uncle Justin. So basically, at some point, my brother was born, my best friend, and he is a big part of my life. And so from there on, basically, my mom decided she wanted to move back to Maine. My mom was born in Maine, and she felt that she was too far away from family. So we moved up here, and they chose to come to Bar Harbor because they like the area, and they like the academics here. So, these are my parents. And yes, this is a gift. This is my dad's birthday. He's a goofball. So basically both of my parents are goofballs. They have a hilarious sense of humor, but they are also very different. My dad, on one hand, is more of a science geek and a kind of a Marvel DC comic geek. He likes the idea of space, of the world, of time, and physics. And he is a firefighter and a paramedic, so he works here in Bar Harbor at the fire department. And so basically, he has been a huge role model to me to understand basically the world around me, as well as the people in it. He's a very empathetic person, and he likes to try and understand why people do things, and not just how they do things. My mom, on the other hand, she is very much a spark of fire. She is not afraid to stand down. Or no, she's not afraid to stand up for anything or anyone. She will fight you, basically. But she also has an extreme passion for literature and for writing. She's an amazing writer, and she's also an amazing singer, though she doesn't high school. So basically, these two people have helped me throughout to grow and helped me to understand myself, as well as where I could go and where I've traveled. So when I was little, this is one of the things that was a huge part of my life, which was science. So NASA and the idea of space and traveling in planets and exoplanets, and as well as pulsars and space radiation and using solar energy to travel, it was a huge inspiration to me. My first big dream job was to be an astronaut. I wanted to be an astronaut and the first woman on Mars, which I think I'm a little bit too late for that, but it's still inspiring today, especially in my artwork. With this passion for science, it's helped me a lot to basically explore creativity and how people can use the things they know around them and using kind of the technology to basically go places that they've never gone before. And then also, this guy. I loved his show when I was little. This is Steve Irwin, as many of you know. Steve Irwin was a huge obsession of mine when I was little. I would sit down at the fire station in my dad's room, and I'd watch Crocodile Hunter for hours. Crocodile Hunter was like one of my favorite shows. And I loved how he would catch all the dangerous animals. See, I didn't want to see the little small, furry, cute animals. I want to see the ones with the big teeth. I want to see the ones that could possibly rip your throat out. Basically, I loved being able to, I think it was more or less just seeing his passion with the animals and the understanding of them and knowing that they're simply just animals. They aren't, they don't really have a good or bad to them. They kind of just do what they want and they survive. And inadvertently, he also pushed me to make my first big step in kind of taking something further than I thought I could take it, which was my animal sounds. Basically, his show helped me to be able to mimic animals. Yes, his show helped me to mimic animals, so that's why I have this assortment of random sounds that I know now. So I learned things from being able to bark. I learned basically cat meowing, growls, along with baby crocodiles calling for their mother. Yes, that's an interesting one that I can demonstrate later. Another thing that helped me a lot, which my mom pushed me a lot, was reading. Reading, I'm a big bookworm. And so basically this is kind of the stuff I read in middle school. So one of my favorite series was The Magic Treehouse, but I like to kind of just like the idea of exploring different cultures, exploring the world, and being able to use the information for books in creative ways, whether that's writing like little mini poems and stuff, or maybe just thinking about how I can incorporate stuff into my own life. So, funny story, 4th grade I tried to read the Lord of the Rings series, which, if any of you know J.R.R. Tolkien, he has a lot of information. It's kind of just like dry information one after another, but it does have action, but it's more descriptive. And I kind of stopped reading it like 1.5 books later, but I picked it up in 8th grade in high school. That's when I went back to the series and tried it again. And actually, 2 of those books, the Raven Boys and the J.R.R. Tolkien series, were 2 books that I tried to read again when I was in high school and I had a better understanding of literature. And I've also branched out a little bit in genre too. I used to really only read like fantasy and animal books, but now I've gone to Southern Gothics, and definitely sci-fi. Sci-fi is definitely a fun genre. So this leads me to my art. So since I have varied interests, I didn't really like stay with one particular thing in art. I want to express myself in many different ways depending on my mood. Some days I feel like I need to sketch. Other days I felt like I need to form something with my hands. And some days I felt like I wanted to make something fuzzy that you could hug and stuff like that. Or something scaly. Depended on the day. But in middle school I started out a lot with digital art and then some painting and sketching. For the longest time I was actually scared of adding color to my art. But over time, I've gained more of an acceptance or more of an understanding of how to incorporate it into my art and how to use it in a good way. I also like my art to have meaning. I don't like it to just be there. I like it to be either for someone or to have some sort of thing behind it. So this is when I come to high school. High school was definitely a big change for me. It was basically, I was going into a whole new environment. I was around a bunch of people who were so much taller than me. I was getting lost consistently in the hallways. I'd come down one hall and be like, oh no, where's my class? And I didn't actually know how to navigate the building, so that first week was quite interesting trying to find out who and where everything was. Luckily, I did have some help from people that I knew previously in my own school, and also Dan Stillman, because I knew him before as my neighbor. It was interesting. But, yeah, high school was also kind of hard for me in the fact that it was the 3rd divorce in my family, so I was going through emotional troubles at the time too. But high school almost made me understand people more, and it made me understand that people do things not out of spite, but just because they are hurting. And so it helped me branch out. But one of the things that helped me a lot in high school was theater. Theater tech was where I could branch all of my different passions and put them into one thing. Not only was I learning about science and technology, I was learning about art. I was learning about how to use the lighting board as a character and use it as playing into the play to basically convey certain emotions and certain images. So it helped a lot. And I'm still doing it, and it's definitely been a big part of my life ever since. And another thing that was very fun for me was the Italy and Greece trip of 2018. It was amazing because it was just spectacular. I got to see things that I could only see in textbooks. And now it's like I got to step foot where ideas sprung from the Western world. And it's interesting because I actually didn't really miss home. Like, many people would think like, oh no, my family's left behind. But for me, I was wanting to bring them with so they could experience. But fortunately, I couldn't really bring people with because it costs a lot of money. So, yeah. So what next? What about college? Well, I've been mainly looking into liberal arts schools and things that can have multiple different majors or different, so I could go for a dual major or something that can kind of incorporate all my interests. So University of Maine is one of the ones I'm considering, more or less because it has a studio art and it has engineering. And I was thinking engineering, so maybe I can make something with all my ideas. Like I incorporate my science love and my art to make something that could be useful. George Mason University is also another place, and it's out of Maine. It is in Virginia, and it's actually near where my aunt lives, so it'll be quite nice. And George Mason University also has Taekwondo, which sounds really fun. Of course, this one is going to be more expensive since it's out-of-state tuition, but surprisingly, it's not as expensive as I thought it would be. And if I can get scholarships, that would help too. Carnegie Mellon is also another one I'm looking forward to, which is in Pennsylvania. It's kind of medium and urban, so it basically it's a different environment still, but it's definitely more costly than University of Maine and George Mason. And then my very hard-to one is Cornell, New York. That requires a lot of work with SAT scores and with just average GPA anyways. And they don't, it's harder to get into that school because they have a low acceptance rate. But I'm still looking for colleges, so this is just a sample of stuff I've been looking at. I'm still not quite sure which college I'd like to go to. But yeah, what next? I don't really know. There are multiple career paths I could go down, but I don't really want my life centered on my career either, because as much as I love the idea of being able to work and do something, makes production out of the ideas I have, I'd also like to just be able to cross some things off my bucket list too, like maybe trying to live in the city for a year, or maybe just trying to go down a dark alleyway just for the fun of it, say I did it, or going skydiving, or maybe just maybe somewhere big. Maybe doing more art, or maybe trying to use my art and selling it for a charity organization. So I could do a variety of things, but I think what next, where my career path is going to be largely determined by next year and in my college years. So that's up to come, and yeah, I guess we'll have to see where life takes me. But yeah, any questions?
Dog bark.
The bark. I've heard it before. It's like crazy.
Okay.
Yes!
Addie.
My favorite one. Rat squeak, rat squeak.
Back sweet. Piper?
I'm not going to suggest an animal noise, but two things actually. Where would be somewhere that you would want to visit in the world, like a cross off your bucket list thing, and also, what's your favorite animal noise to make?
Ooh, okay. So a place I would like to cross my bucket list, somewhere I'd like to go, is either Japan, somewhere in Japan, going to South Africa, or maybe going somewhere in India. Those three places I found really interesting when I was younger. For India, it's just more or less the tigers, to be honest, because I just thought them cute. But also just because it's an interesting culture, and kind of just looking at all the different large statues they had of with Hinduism and all the different religious things they had there. Japan, because when I was younger, I did like to watch cartoons. A lot of them were more anime-esque, and I found that interesting. But also just because one of my aunts actually is Japanese. She, so maybe she could help me around with that. But it just seems like an interesting culture to learn about also, since my family already has kind of a slight understanding of it. And then for South Africa, I just kind of want to go to Africa at some point, maybe just a different country, because it'd be cool to see the savannah and everything, but also just the life there. But yeah. And as for my favorite animal sound to make, they probably have to be my dog sounds. That's my first, and it's always fun to do because I can scare the crap out of people, or I can also scare dogs too. It's funny, I've done this before, but I bark outside my house and I hear 5 or 6 neighbor dogs with by, and it's great. Justin?
What about that crocodile one you were talking about?
Oh yeah. Baby crocodiles, in order to call her their mom, have a very distinct, weird sound. It's like. So it's not as loud, of course, because I have larger vocal cords, but they basically make around that sound in different pitches, varying on the type of alligator. Tiger?
Would you ever consider becoming a voice actor?
I have actually considered a little bit of ventriloquism, because I have a variety of puppets at my house, and I do like to basically have different voices for the puppets. It's more or less because my dad would chase me around with puppets and play Tickle Monster. It's great. As for voice acting, I haven't really thought about it, to be honest. I thought maybe like sound effects and stuff, but otherwise, I mean, it'd be something to consider.
You were the rat in this year's musical. That
Yes.
was credited. Evelyn Zumwalt played the rat.
Rat. Yes. Fiona.
Would you consider like continuing theater into college, like if they had a club or like outside?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, I might not end up in the same position, but it'll still be fun, just like the environment and where kind of like all my interests can diverge into one. I might not consider it as a career path, but I definitely consider it as an extracurricular activity. Addie, and then Sam.
Since you talked about art, what's your favorite color?
My favorite color would definitely be blue.
Shade.
I kind of like the warm stone gray blues. I find it just, it gets really calming, but it's like the way it can mix with other colors also, like with copper or with gold or with silver. So it can kind of go in combination, but it's also just like a nice color.
It's kind of like the color of the ocean in Maine, right?
Yeah.
If you add a little green.
Mm-hmm. And anything else? Yes, Mr.
Are you related to Elmo Russell Bud Zumwalt Jr.?
Wait, is this the USS Zumwalt guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, dissimilar. Very dissimilar.
So he's like a great uncle kind of person?
We actually have no idea. We actually have this running gag in our family. My Papa Steve got us these shirts that say USS Zumwalt on them because of him. We know that somewhere down the family line we were like branched to him, but it's so like, it's such like a distance that we don't know actually how really we are to him.
Right,
So
right.
it's not enough to actually give credit to anything, but I'd say pretty distantly related.
Huh. One other question. Did you know that in at Princeton University, the Office of Engineering Communications is required to study art?
Oh.
Because too many engineering students think it's all just wiring and chips and
You need to
mechanics
have-
and stuff, and they force them into doing these complex creative art projects.
Oh.
Why?
Foster creativity.
Because engineers need to think creatively. It's
Yeah.
not just, systems management or something.
That's why, like, that's one of the things I do find really nice about having the two together. That's probably where I probably want to go, is a career path that involves the two. But it's just like, it does really help because you have the design aspect of engineering. So you need to be able to know, like, what is it going to do? How's it going to solve this problem? And then also you need to have the streamline of it. Like, what fits better in a person's hand? A small bone, or maybe one of those large boxy bones that some people like that. That's not going to fit in your hands. You gotta, like, you can try.
Right.
But basically kind of like how, I do like the design aspect.
It's cool.
Anything else? Or?
Give it for Evelyn.